Good afternoon and welcome to the Livewire, UNC Charlotte's forum for conversations with newsmakers from here on campus and beyond. I'm Will City. The UNC Charlotte Office of Legal Affairs Fall Symposium is quickly approaching. The full-day annual event kicks off October 15th at 8:30 a.m. and features experts from across the university. Breakout sessions will include topics like intellectual property, Title IX, and even the legal implications of social media. This year, participants will also see format changes that should help them choose the most relevant sessions and get answers to specific legal questions they might have. With us today to share a full preview of the 2015 Legal Affairs Symposium is Catherine Mitchell, the Higher Education Legal Fellow here at UNC Charlotte. Catherine, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Wills.
To start off, if you could just give me a quick picture of the legal department here at UNC Charlotte, how it's organized, and what your day-to-day is like.
Yeah, definitely. So the legal department here is made up of 5 permanent attorneys, and then I'm the legal fellow, so I am an attorney, but I make 6. So we have our general counsel, Dave Broom, who oversees the office, and then we have a deputy general counsel, Jesh Humphrey. 3 other attorneys, Jeff Jensen, Amy Kelso, who actually works remotely in Asheville, and then Sarah Edwards, who currently is out with the newborn baby. So those are the attorneys in the office, and then we have a paralegal, an exec assistant for Dave, and then an admin assistant for the office as well. And all of us kind of deal with general areas of the law. We all kind of touch on everything, but we also have some specialty areas that each of us do as well. Myself, as the legal fellow, I am here pretty much just after law school, and it was a 1-year appointment, which fortunately for me turned into 1 more year. So I've been here for right at a year, and I have another year to go, and I kind of assist with all the attorneys on different areas. Mine's pretty broad, that I kind of get different projects, research, writing, different things like that. So
the growth of UNC Charlotte as a whole has been pretty well documented in recent years. Do you get the sense that the legal department is having to grow with the university, and that the scope of responsibilities that the legal department has is also increasing?
I think so. I think definitely the growth at the university has required more, just more things needing more attention, but also just higher ed in general. The federal government has put out a lot more regulation on higher ed. At the state level as well, there's more regulations, state laws and so forth that we must adhere to. So I think it's kind of a two-way thing, both the university growth as well as regulation from outside just the university. So
We've heard from different members of your office that have said you guys want to take a proactive approach to legal issues here on campus, help educate people and make people aware of the laws that are relevant to their particular areas so that issues can be stopped before they even happen. Is that the idea behind the symposium, and is that something that your office is committed to doing?
Absolutely. Obviously, a proactive approach, getting things on the front end, is a lot easier than a reactive approach when things might have already gone wrong and we're putting out fires and cleaning up, helping to clean up the mess. So the Legal Symposium helps to just educate the university community, from faculty, staff, students, as far as what legal issues they need to be aware of, what policies they might need to be aware of, and that we're here to answer questions on the front end, and that through this symposium we hope to, again, educate people that they know that they have resources available, that we are happy to pick up the phone when they call and answer questions from the beginning. So
I think some people have a perception of lawyers, especially institutional lawyers, from other people in the institution, that these are the people that are telling me, no, you can't do that. They're the people that are making it more difficult to get things done. What's your response to that perception, and what is your office doing to kind of help counter that?
I would say, coming in, just being in a year, it's been interesting to me, even as being trained as an attorney, coming out of law school. You have a mindset of, we have to say no a lot as attorneys, but our office in particular is they're just great problem solvers. They want to figure out a way to get to yes. While one way may not work that a particular department wants to do it, we'll figure out a way to get to a yes answer so that we can best assist both our students, our faculty, and our staff in accomplishing what they want to do. I do think, again, being new, everyone outside of our office in particular always ask me, oh, you're the ones who keep them in line and keep them in check and don't let them do this, that, or the other. But it's been a great learning experience for me to learn how to problem solve and again, have that proactive approach of taking things on the front end and figuring out a way to get them done successfully.
Now, as you mentioned, you're relatively new to the university, so you haven't been here for the entire evolution of the Legal Symposium, but things have changed over the history. I believe it's in its 5th year now, and could you talk to me about, first of all, what the symposium is, what participants might expect, and then how it's changed this year as compared to previous years?
Yeah. So the symposium, again, is just our attempt to educate the university community on legal issues that are happening here and even nationally. We have things like Title IX that are all over the news and people want to know about that. So that this is our way to educate our constituents, our employees, our students on these issues. And I believe it is the 4th or 5th year, and so it has evolved somewhat. A couple of times they've done half-day things and had more of a focus on maybe safety one year. Recently, we've tried to do a more broad overview of things. This year in particular, we had some feedback from last year that people wanted to be able to attend sessions that were more attuned to what they were dealing with. So we have taken those comments and have decided to do tracks this year. So rather than just different sessions at random times, there's 6 sessions this year, and there's going to be 3 different breakouts in each of those sessions, and they're going to be based on tracks. So if you're in the employee track and you want to hear more about employment issues, then there will be one of those, for each session there will be a different topic on that track. And then there's also student issues and business and admin, which would be more purchasing, contracts, things like that.
And it'll be clear to people which particular session they should follow if they're trying to get each session from a particular track.
Yeah, so you can plan out in advance if you want to know which track. So on our website, which I think we're going to go through in a few minutes, sure. But on the schedule there is a list of the tracks, and we have them, each session has a number and a letter that goes with it. And as you'll see, as Will goes through this, that A, B, and C corresponds with each track. So you can see which, if you want to do all employment, then you will go to all of the C topics.
And that was one thing that struck me when I first took a look at this agenda, just the breadth of topics that are being addressed here. Do you think people will be surprised at the range of law that intersects our activities here at the university?
I think so. Again, me being new, it strikes me sometimes that there is so much. And I think that's one reason that we are, all of us in our office are so general. While we do have specific things we work on more often, you kind of have to have at least a knowledge to some extent of what's going on. And so, yeah, there's everything from federal copyright things to FERPA issues with privacy rights for students and their education records, to social media that I'll be talking about, which has some free speech implications. And then we have state law issues as far as how we purchase products and equipment and insure those and so forth. So it's a wide variety from federal to state to university-specific policies with the Board of Governors policies that we have to follow. And so, yeah, it's wide-ranging.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Let's get into just a few of those topics. You'll be co-hosting or hosting 2 of these sessions and then sitting on 2 of the Q&A panels as well. This title, and you mentioned social media, this title I think definitely will get people's attention. When hashtags and selfies become headaches and safety concerns, students and social media. What are the legal implications of students on social media? Because I'm not sure that would immediately come to mind as something that could be a concern.
Yeah, so obviously we live in a digital age and social media is all over the place. You just walking over here to meet with you, you see students on cell phones taking selfies, sending a Snapchat, posting an Instagram photo. And so with that, you just have a lot of information being put out there. And so from a university perspective, we want to keep our students safe. So you have safety implications and even some cyberbullying that you hear about that we have to be concerned with, and electronic harassment, such easy access to people through their social media accounts, just making sure that that's not going on. But then you also have the other side of students' rights and their privacy rights, their free speech rights. And so we have to have a good balance between monitoring, keeping students safe, but also not invading those rights. And then my other area of interest beyond just higher ed law is in athletics, particularly college athletics. So student athletes bring kind of a different realm to this that we have to be aware of. And with NCAA bylaws and so forth, there's more emphasis put on monitoring and so forth. And so we'll talk a little about those particular implications as well surrounding student athletes.
Sure, and how difficult is it to strike that balance between university safety and maintaining a good learning environment on campus, and then student speech and First Amendment concerns on the other side, especially on a university campus as compared to a high school where the courts have allowed a lot more, strength for the administration, and then college campuses are supposed to be these great free speech zones. How difficult is it to strike that balance?
I think it's really difficult, and I think a lot of it is just education. I think that's, speaking of proactive approaches, I think that's one of the ways is just to educate our students on that, when you send this tweet out, that it could have bullying tendencies behind it, but also, letting them know what their free speech rights are so that they're aware ahead of time, but then also educating our administrators who are more so responsible for looking into this. I think education is one of the big ways to get out in front of it, which is why we're going to include this in the symposium. But as far as striking the balance, once you're kind of in the trenches and doing it, I think you just have to, again, just be aware of where that line is, knowing that line's not defined, right, particularly, that it
those
may be.
Those questions haven't been answered, right?
Yes, that while there may be obvious ones that we can deal with, that there are other things, especially when they're private accounts and so forth, that we don't want to get involved in, and thus why the education piece is so important.
And even more than knowing specifically what the laws are, having the idea that social media activities could have legal ramifications just tends to make people more responsible.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. We attend a national conference every summer, and so this was my first one, and this was one of the big topics. The room was full, talking about social media. There were kind of two sessions, one on the student athletes, but then one just on social media, and a lot about these new social media outlets of, one's called Whisper and Burn Book and things like that people can anonymously post things. And so I think that gets into more of the safety issue where we can more so monitor and try to make sure our students are safe in that realm.
So the other session that you're leading is on the U.S. Supreme Court's recent decision on same-sex marriage. And again, I think this is one of those things that when people initially see this, they might say, well, what does that have to do with UNC Charlotte's campus? But it could have quite a big impact. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, so I feel that I chose the topics that are maybe the most constitutionally based, sure, and so maybe draw the most attention. But so with this Supreme Court case, I think in general, one of the ideas was just it is a big, it obviously impacts our nation, and so it has to impact individuals on a campus. So we wanted to touch on it, and so I'm going to give kind of an overview of what the decision did and did not say, even touch on the dissents, because I think somewhat the focus has been more so on the dissents. But also just this one's in the employment track, so we're going to focus more on the employment side of things, particularly benefits and things like that, workers' comp and so forth, and how it affects those definitions of spouses and so forth that come in those. But I think it also can touch on some student issues as well when it comes to, organizations that students are involved in and so forth. So we're not probably going to get into the weeds as much because I think to some extent with North Carolina, although we had legislation, Amendment 1 and so forth, October of 2014, we had federal district judges who came down. And so we were kind of already beginning the trend. Our HR department was already putting out some stuff on benefits and changing some of that policy and so forth. But this just kind of confirms some of that, and then also opens the door to what legislation or what litigation may be coming in the future that we need to be aware of. Obviously, we're a public institution, so some of it regarding religious institutions and so forth doesn't affect us, but it's stuff we should be aware of and kind of have a heads up on, particularly being a campus that has lots of student involvement in organizations and so forth. So,
as we mentioned earlier, there's expanded Q&A sections in this year's symposium. What's the thinking behind that, and talk about the two that you're going to be involved with?
Yeah, so last year was my first one, so I'm not sure about the years before, but last year we had one large Q&A at the end, and kind of everybody just comes with various questions. And so you can kind of get off on a tangent and someone else's question may not be answered. And I think with such a decentralized university with lots of different departments that may not know what the other one has going on at the time, sometimes those questions weren't applicable to 3/4 of the room. And so with these tracks, we're trying to focus them more. So we're going to have a Q&A session for each track so that more questions can be answered. We can get into the weeds a little bit more. And people can bring up their specific scenarios and feel like they're getting more out of these Q&A sessions. As far as the two that I'm going to be on, I'm on the student and the employment side of things. And it's titled Q&A with experts, but I would say that it should be experts and some others, because I'm certainly no expert on any of these issues. But I do have a little experience with some student and employment issues. And so the others, though, that are on there, we have some non-attorneys, some from other areas on campus. For the student one, our Dean of Students is coming to help out with the Q&A. And then one of our people in HR who's very knowledgeable about the law and so forth will be on the employment side of things. And so that brings a different tone to it, so it's not just the attorneys talking to you, that we're all, which is how we want it to be, that we all work together to figure these things out. So this will be kind of all the heads coming together to discuss some of these issues and let people have their questions answered.
And that's a theme of the symposium on the whole as well. We're not just talking black letter law here. This is experts from subject matter areas across the campus talking with the legal team about their particular areas, which again, as you said, is how it fits together in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, we may touch on this, but we have a few sessions that our director of university compliance will be leading, and she reports to the general counsel, but she's also over the compliance department, so that's one area that kind of brings in another tone to it. And then our Title IX coordinator will also be presenting her own session on Title IX and the state of the law right now across the nation. So yeah, we really want to show that we collaborate across campus, and we want to all do this as a team, as a university.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, let's try to touch on a few of these other sessions that we haven't covered yet. Again, there's more than 15 topics, so we won't be able to go in depth on everything here, but I'd like to at least give people a picture of what to expect. Yeah. There's a session on FERPA, which is one of those acronyms most people have probably heard of and that people in a university context probably know a little bit about, but is very important here at the university. What's going to be covered in that session?
So Jesh Humphrey is doing that, who is our Deputy General Counsel, and he is our FERPA guru. So FERPA deals with students' access to their educational records, as well as protecting those from release to third parties. So he's going to give a pretty broad overview, but answer some of the more detailed questions. FERPA touches pretty much on everything across campus when it comes to educational records. So every year, this is, from what I hear, the most popular session. Everybody wants to know stuff about FERPA because people kind of are really cautious about it. How do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? So he gets questions all the time as far as how to approach the FERPA topic, on whether it be a data storage contract that we're working on, or a class assignment that maybe, somehow deals with students interacting with the public and so forth. So that kind of covers, he's going to cover a broad overview, but then answer some more specific questions and examples that people might have. So
is that one of those topics where actually getting the education in advance is really beneficial? Because I feel like some of these violations happen when someone just didn't recognize that there might be a potential for a violation at all. It's issue spotting.
Yeah, I think this proactive approach to just knowing, like I said, FERPA touches on so much, and every situation's kind of different. So kind of going into it with the knowledge of FERPA, and again, being willing to just pick up the phone and call Jesh or another attorney to ask, how do I deal with this in this situation? I think just being aware that FERPA is there and that you have to be mindful of it, it will really help to prevent some issues.
Sure. Student issues, obviously going to be a central focus of the symposium. There's a session on at-risk or disruptive students. And given some of the things that have happened on university campuses recently, this has to be one that I think faculty members will be interested in. What kind of things are we going to be talking about in that session?
Yeah, again, this is one of Jesh's sessions, and he is very knowledgeable about student issues, how best to deal with them. I think, like you said, given what has taken place in recent history with college campuses, I think it's really important for especially our faculty to be in the know and be knowledgeable about what they can do, the resources that are available when students are being disruptive in class. I think faculty are often the one who obviously are interacting most with students, and just being aware of resources that are available. And then also, there's the disciplinary side of things, that kind of the process that will take place and so forth. I think he will touch on a broad area. That's one that we haven't discussed a lot about in our office. I think Jesh has taken the lead on it, but guaranteed to be informative and well worth attending. Sure. Yeah.
University policy creation and revision, that might fly a little bit under the radar compared to the constitutional issues we were mentioning earlier. But university policies play a big role in how things happen and how things work on campus. Could you give us a quick look at what's going to be covered there?
Yeah, so we have recently come out with a new policy that is basically policies on policies. So it's to give the university, especially those who are dealing with creating or revising policies, implementing them, give them a kind of a procedure as to how that takes place. So with this session, Amy Kelso will be leading it, and she's going to go introduce the new policy to people, kind of go through that, and again, give them an awareness of when they are dealing with these, who's going to deal with which area, and how the process will play out in doing these policies. It's really important that we do follow a process in that, so that we make sure our policies are all up to date, that it's sent out to the university, that it's not just a policy we have on our website that no one knows about, but that it's disseminated to the university as well, and has enforcement on them. Right. So.
We haven't talked a lot about the business and administrative track, but there are sessions on that track, including purchasing agreements, things of that nature, and then there's also a Q&A section on business and administrative issues as well.
Yeah, so, we knew obviously that employment and student issues were a big thing, but with the business and admin track, there are lots and lots of staff members across campus who deal with things like purchasing and so forth. And so this is kind of a way for us to touch on those issues, and particularly the purchasing and side of things. You know, there's a process for that we have to follow. There's a state purchasing guidelines that we have to follow and so forth. Things have to be insured. There's a proper way to discard things. So to give people a knowledge that those policies and procedures are out there as well.
Sure.
So.
And you mentioned Title IX briefly, and that's an area of law that's still evolving, changing quite a bit, and covers more than people think that it might. A lot of people's minds will go first to athletics, but Title IX involves more than that, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Gone are the ages where Title IX is particular to athletics. Yes, so Title IX has definitely evolved. I just heard a report this morning from our chief of police regarding the Cleary report that was just put out the beginning of this month. And he was just talking about the increase in reporting for sexual assaults, which we knew was going to happen with more education and our Title IX coordinator putting out more stuff, that the reports for that would increase. And that's a part of the Title IX thing, as far as sexual assaults on college campuses are the reality now, and we have to deal with those. And so Dawn Floyd, our Title IX coordinator, will be presenting on that. Both the programming that's going on our campus, she and others have done a great job in educational, the educational front, and then also responding to reports and so forth. So she'll give an overview of the state on the campus, but then also nationally. As we said, it's evolving, and stuff's coming out from the Department of Education that we have to adhere to, as well as, you know, guidance from the White House and so forth. Even the White House task force is, so all across the board there's stuff on Title IX that people need to be aware of, but particularly college campuses. You know, the media puts a big emphasis on it that brings attention, but we want people to know that Title IX is a thing, but that we're dealing with it, and that our Title IX coordinator is very active on campus. So.
Well, Catherine, thanks so much for coming in today and giving us a nice picture of what sounds like a really informative and worthwhile event, which will be next week,
yes,
starting at 8:30 a.m.
Yes, so we will offer breakfast, continental breakfast before, and then we'll have 3 sessions followed by lunch, and lunch is included with the symposium, and then 3 sessions in the afternoon. So we encourage you to go online and register so that we'll know you're coming. But if you're walking by and decide you want to drop in, we also welcome that. But we do hope you will attend, and we'll be in the Student Activity Center up in the Salons.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So again, for more information and to register, go online to legal.uncc.edu. I'm Will City. That was this week's edition of The Livewire. Tune in next week, same time, same place.